different. Mike got shot out of a cannon. You were a slow build.
Yeah.
Did you always keep an eye on what Lennox was doing?
Absolutely, 100%. Everyone, most of the people we had relationships. Evander as well. We watched each other, and I'm sure it had to be like, because they're competitors. They had to be, every time they saw somebody on television, they had to be jealous. I was jealous as hell seeing Evander and all those guys in Madison Square Garden, all the press in the world. Remember when they had their debut? I'm over there. I'm a jealous kind of guy. I need to be there. I'm just one of those guys. I'm sad. And
we're talking about very early on.
Yes,
when you're a kid,
17
years old.
I'm mad. I want to be there. I'm at my friend's house, and my friends already established celebrities, but I'm at their house, so they take me to this big. It was Liza Minnelli house, and it was just a
of course it was Liza Minnelli's house.
It was just a bunch of celebrities.
Only in Mike's life, by the way.
And I'm up there, and it's all good. And listen. Bing, Melody Kill. All them guys start going on television, and everybody started looking. And all of a sudden, Mom, I said, I want to be there. That's just how my mind works. I want to do that. I want to be there. I want them to look at me, and wow, and that just made me just want to do more and accomplish more. And I lived this monastic lifestyle.
Did you, Lennox,
masturbation and no women? No, really, this is just what I wanted to do, and nobody's going to interfere in my life. I want to be famous, and because just these guys were there, they were known in the amateur world, in the boxing world, but these were just average people, people, family members. But when they saw them and they mentioned their name, all their heads turned. And I said, wow, these are just average people. They shouldn't know these guys, but they did. And I was like, wow, I want that to be me. That's my whole life is off. I want that too. Because them that what he should have that, you shouldn't have that for.
Which by the way, as life goes on, is a really ultimately unhealthy way to live life, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I find that right now, I think that's the worst part of life. That's the worst part of Instagram, is that, like, I scroll through and you see things other people are doing, and I go, oh, that looks awesome, and it makes you forget your own blessings because you're sitting there looking at all these other things that other people do.
But you have to look at the scenario. I'm a very insecure, beaten down kid.
Right.
Either I'm going to be, I want that, else take it all.
Right. It's one or the other. So for you at work to do that. Lennoxlewis is our special guest. Now, Lennox, on the flip side, what were there levels of jealousy for you when all of a sudden in 1985, 86, this guy starts becoming just the thing that everyone's talking about?
Not jealousy. I was like looking at him like, he was like a giant on TV. Every time, he fought and he was knocking out people, I was like, everybody was saying, yo, you see that knockout? I'm looking at him and saying, yeah, man, the way how he knocked out people was incredible. And I could see the hype, and I could see why people were so into Miketyson, in the sense that they loved the fact that he went out there and the fights didn't last that long. Yeah, you came in, you got your money's worth. Was I jealous? No. I was like looking at him like he's a giant, because on TV, you're back in the amateurs, boxing the amateurs, and you're seeing the professional fighters fight, and it's magnificent,
But you didn't think, well, if I sparred with him and he's already a pro and chasing the title, why am I moving this slow direction?
He had to know that. Listen, he had to know we're a different kind of breed. If you mind me, like guys, like our trainers, one step at a time. I never rushed up, one at a time, very little. The guys that rushed up there, they don't last long. It's better to be slow and short than fast and fail.
Yeah, and, Miketyson really, he's one of those fast guys that, got into boxing a lot quicker. I'm more of a slow graduator. At the end when I'm older,
Well, your roots are Jamaican. You're nice and easy, nice, cool.
Yeah, relax, man.
Jamaican, British, laid back vibes.
Yeah. But I was one of those slow guys, so it took me a while to really get everything together.
So then, over the years, first we have the Tyson years. Do you guys run into each other again, like in those years pre-Buster Douglas? Did you guys ever see each other? Did you ever go to any of the fights, anything like that?
Yeah, I went to a couple fights. We didn't really run into each other because
we were different circles. We were fighting with different circles.
Well, does that mean that you weren't into the madness that Mike's circle was that time? Were you living a more quiet
life? I was one of those guys that stayed in the gym and stayed in my community. I was representing my country at the time.
And where were you living then?
I was living in Canada.
Okay.
I was living in Canada, so I was really focused on the boxing. We were watching Mike, we were watching everybody at that time. But, you know, I realized that I was still young. I still wanted to go to the 88 Olympics and, you know, do it that way.
Once and for all, by the way, very quickly, can you just give, in a super short way, the order in which places that you're from and lived? Because I think it's very confusing for
your
fans
whole
watching.
life you've been dealing with this. Huh?
Yeah, so like just
You've
once
been
and for
dealing
all.
with this more than a championship. You deal with this whole life. You could deal with this for the rest of your life.
It's
Born here, moved here, moved here. What was the order?
It's crazy. You know, my mom and my father are Jamaican, and they went to England.
Yep, which is very common. A lot of Jamaicans in England, of course.
Where they had me.
Okay.
And I was over there for a little while, and I went to a couple boarding schools because I was a naughty boy.
Okay.
And they said, well, you know, you need to stay with your mom. So my mom was in Canada, so they arranged for me to go over to Canada to live with my mom. So when I went over to Canada, seeing snow for the first time, hockey for the first time, it was a new experience for me. That's where I started my boxing career over there. And then I boxed for Canada for 2 Olympics, and that's where I had my all my experience.
Do you consider Canada the most home? Like childhood home?
Yeah, definitely the country that nurtured me.
And where do you live now?
I live in Jamaica and Canada.
Live in Jamaica and Canada.
I got a Jamaican home and I got a Canadian home.
Where's can you say where your Jamaican home is?
Yes, in Jamaica.
There you go. Perfect. I was in Jamaica.
It's funny, you know, everybody that goes to Jamaica knows where my home is.
Oh, what I was going to say, because when I was I visited Kingston with Sean Paul, and he gave me a tour. He gave me a...
Whoa, you saw some interesting houses. Like amazing houses.
Amazing.
You would never believe Jamaica, Kingston have houses like that, right?
Like Elephant Man's house?
Yeah.
Like you could see Elephant Man's house from 5 miles away.
Oh, yeah.
The colors are crazy.
On the mountain there.
Yeah, up on the mountain.
And then you see Bounty Killer's house,
Yeah.
Nevada's house.
And then, of course, we see the guys' houses that weren't fortunate enough to get it finished.
Exactly.
You know?
There are a lot of those that are not quite done.
You saw those two that weren't fortunate enough to get the last shipment.
So, do you guys remember when so you never run into each other all this time? Mike becomes Miketyson. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Mike.
We run into each other's friends, though. Like a guy maybe in England or Canada. Hey, I grew up with Mike, you know, because a bunch of my friends grew up with me. They got deported back.
So you have these little things happen. Mike has his run. When Mike goes away, you really start to build. That's when you, Evander, Michael Moorer, Riddick Bowe, everyone starts to kind of build now that there's this
gap.
This gap.
Yeah.
We were trying to get you. I'm sorry to intervene.
No, go ahead.
We were trying to get you at the heavyweight thing. When all the heavyweights that were living were still together. We took a picture. You weren't there.
Yeah, no, I was there.
You were with...
Yeah, I was there.
God, then where was I? Those goddamn brownies got me. That's what it was.
Mike, you gotta watch the brownies.
No, I really gotta watch the
brownies. Could put you in a crazy place.
That Michael Moore get you in trouble.
Yeah, he gave me some brownies. Look at the brownies.
I learned things I never knew.
The brownies. I'm trying to do this show. I'm doing this. It's a wonderful show. All the existing heavyweight champions are coming out. Everybody's in.
You didn't get on stage on brownies, did you?
No,
and talk.
No. Before that ever occurred, for 20 minutes, I'm on the table like this. Boom. They got ice down my neck. I can't breathe. I'm close to phobic. I think I'm dying.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you have to watch out. Those
brownies.
So all of this happens.
Proverbial brownies.
In the sense that, you know, Mike Tyson would have a fight, and I would hear him say, "Lennox," you know, something like that. I'm coming to get you.
Well.
And I was, I would say,
I can't believe I was that guy back then. Holy shit.
And then I would say, well, you know, tell Tyson to put up or shut up, something like that. And you know, that was the slow build, and even the public was building it. You know, our friends, different people that are, you know, love us. In that sense, they want to see the fight, so they're building it in their way. And
then we eventually get to this moment right here.
Oh, God, man, what?
Is this your shortest fight ever? In any time, amateur, professional, ever?
Assalamu alaikum, Maida.
I really like you.
I don't know, man.
Rosenberg.
Yeah, Lennoxlewis. Lennox, I'm coming for you.
Mike, is it frustrating to train like you did and then have this in 7 or 8 seconds?
For this fight, I only trained probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks for this fight. I had to bury my best friend, and I dedicated this fight. I wasn't going to fight. I dedicated this fight to him. I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best.
And there we now have the beginning of the true hype machine that would eventually be Lewis Tyson is on.
It's on.
It's
Drugs
on.
are really cool sometimes. You know, I used to wonder, oh, shit.
Oh. No, when I heard that, I was like, wow. Everybody was coming back to me and saying, "Yeah, what you said about you, Lennox?" I was like, oh, what can I say? You know what I mean?
How do you even respond when someone says they're going to eat your children? What do you even say to
my
them?
mother-
Did you have children then?
You didn't have children.
No. my mother was horrified. My mother was saying, "Yo, what's he talking about? You don't even have children yet. What's going on?" I was like, it's the hype of the fight, Mom. You know, heat of the
somebody
moment.
was with me and said, Mikey doesn't have children, Mike. He doesn't have children, Mike.
Yet.
So then, the process gets started. They start building for this thing. There was, first of all, a major issue of HBO and Showtime, correct?
Yes.
So that's out there. You're an HBO guy at the time, Lennox. Mike is with Showtime.
Yeah.
Did you guys think it would happen? At first, did it feel like it would be impossible?
At first, I thought it was going to be impossible because, different things happened, different things occurred. You know, we both have different managers, obviously different TV people that we represent. But, I knew it could really get together because it only took paper, And I guess both of the TV networks wanted it to get together because it happened.
Mike, at this time, are you thinking, in retrospect, did you deep down believe at this point in your career you could still beat Lennoxlewis?
I don't know. I didn't think so, but I thought so.
Like maybe.
Yeah, something could go good here.
Right. But from watching and where you knew you were in your life, you had to know he was very good and he'd be a tough match, a tough out with his size and things like that and how good he was. He was just getting to his prime, really.
That could be true, but fighters don't think that way. Fighters think there's always a chance.
Right. Well, believe me, I thought the same thing.
There's always a chance, and that chance always gets us in trouble. The percentage of the chance is just so low, but it's just the thrill of going against that percentage.
Well, and you had to, and for both of you, I mean, financially, this was the biggest fight of all time.
Yeah, I didn't have any money, and the money I had for that, I had to pay so many bills and stuff.
Did you even not get to really enjoy the money because of how broke you were at the time?
Well, I did enjoy some money, but I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, right. But it took care of some bills, too.
Yeah, I never believed in paying bills. Bills. No.
You guys ended up being $30 million each. Was that what they came to?
No, more than that.
It was more than that.
Yeah.
50?
Hey, but in this kind of business, sometimes money, you receive money that you shouldn't talk about.
Fair enough. Well, at the time, it was the largest of all time. Of course, and it ends up being beaten recently by Floyd and Manny, but everything's changed.
Hang on, you're forgetting about the press conference.
Whoa, no, you think I'm the pyramid in Memphis?
Yes.
Had you ever been to Memphis before?
Never been to Memphis ever.
And how early did you guys get there for the fight? Do you remember the time frame?
Yeah, I would say about 5 weeks or something. I was training down there. I just wanted.
Oh, you did? You trained there?
I'm one of those guys that like to get to my place and get climatized and get used to the weather.
Mike, where'd you train? Do you remember where you trained for that one?
Maui.
You were in Maui then still. Did you, in the preparation for the fight, there were still some crazy things that happened, things said to the press, but we end up eventually getting there. Did you feel confident, Mike? Did you get in good shape for that fight? Like, did you do the best you could, you felt at the time, to give him a run for his money?
Yeah. I really got to be honest because I was doing good. I was knocking out everybody in the gym. I'm knocking out contenders. I'm doing good. Regardless, so I'm beating these guys, top contenders. I'm knocking easy in the gym. So
and you had pretty good sparring partners, like actual contenders.
Regardless of how I was living my life up to the fight, I got in shape. I got in good shape, and everything I did was appropriate to be fighting for the title.
And Lennox, is this the hardest you ever trained for a fight? Like, did you treat this? Do you know at the time that every barbershop you go into for the rest of your life, this was going to be the day that made or broke Lennoxlewis?
The barbershop.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Well,
not the barbershop.
Not the barber. Everyone cares
The Black
about
Man Country Club, right? The Black Man's Country Club. The barbershop.
That's
the
a great
Black
line.
Man's Country Club.
You got to worry about the barbershop.
Yeah, and you have to worry because I had locks at the time. So you're saying, what's the guy with locks in the barbershop for?
That's a good point. Why are you even here?
The barbershop, I had the little tweenies, and you in there talking shit, and then the guys are there twisting, and you this and that. Yeah, whole time, look at this, baby. It's just what
By the way, you might say Mike Tyson might be the all-time barbershop discussion king.
Wow.
Mike, probably no one in history got discussed in a barbershop more than Mike Tyson over the years.
No, definitely. That topic came up
You
millions
really
of
think
times.
so? Me in the barbershop?
Oh, yes. You see what Mike did this week? That was where you recap what happened.
Absolutely.
So, Lennox, you're knowing going into this that if somehow he knocks you out, and, at that time, Mike, you're coming off, you were beating cupcakes right before you took on him. You're talking about like Julius Francis and Lou Savaries and all these guys who really, Norris, these guys who weren't special, and then you're going to jump up to Lennox.
That's not true. Lou Savaries beat people. Lou Savaries knocked Buster Douglas out in one round. He was a Michigan man. What's they call him? The Michigan man? He probably looked like the Michigan man, but still he was
Michelin.
I always messed that one up. Michigan and Michelin.
Okay, in the Savaries fight, I felt like you grazed his head and knocked him out.
Excuse me?
It looks like you grazed him when you knocked him out. Savaries.
Perfection always look fake. Perfection is look fake.
So
it doesn't look real. That's why it's perfection.
So you jump. Now you're jumping into Lennox.
I can't believe I'm talking shit.
But Lennox, the question is, do you really have a big battery in your back at that point? Like the training, was it a different level for you?
100%. Because I looked at it as he drawed first blood, and he may have won that day, but really now I'm going to be prepared for him. Now I'm going to get him back in the ring. So my training was all about that, because I was upset that he bit me on my leg. So
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I forgave you a long time ago. It's all good. Like I said, I'm a sleeping lion, and people don't really know how big my heart is and what's in my mind. So I really trained for that particular fight. I went to the mountaintop.
Now fight night comes. Do you guys remember any of the celebs that were ringside for that one?
No.
It was.
I don't remember any of them because they were all there.
Yeah, it was, and they took trips to Memphis. This wasn't going to Vegas. It was going to Memphis. And HBO and Showtime, this is the part that to me made it seem crazy. So I was telling Lennox before you got here, Mike, I had a party at my house. My ex-girlfriend threw like a party for me because everyone knows that I was the biggest Tyson fan. So we were living in this shitty house in College Park. They tore them all down. They were terrible in Maryland. And we have this party, fill the whole house. Everyone's there for this fight. And I'm just sitting there like freaking out because I didn't know if this fight would ever happen. In my head, I'm thinking if Mike wins, I mean, he's back. Like, he beat Lennoxlewis. He wins the title. He's back. This would be like the culmination of every Tyson fan's dreams. So we have this whole party, and then you turn on the TV, and I'm like, man, you're seeing Steve Albert and Jim Lampley together. Showtime and HBO together. Like, as a broadcast guy, I'm like, that's crazy. That they brought this whole thing together.
Yeah, you forgot the human chain across the ring.
Oh, my God.
First time ever.
You remember that?
First time ever.
Yeah, they to start the fight. That was so good for hype, by the way, to continue.
I'm a real sick guy.
They had to have because Mike was such a lunatic. They had to have a human chain of security across the ring, so you guys wouldn't get to each other.
I'm a
early.
lunatic, huh?
Yeah. Well, back then it was.
Okay, wait till they leave. We're gonna discuss the lunatic thing.
Let me tell you, I was on one side, Mike was on the other side, and I was in my corner, and I seen Mike come up to the human chain and looked over. Because I remember that. And I seen him look over, and I was still getting into my music. I think my music was playing at the same time, Bob Marley. So I was just kind of getting.
I came to the ring and looked over the rope.
You looked in the ring. You kind of looked over the security, like between them, to like
see me.
Yeah, to see him.
Like, I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Oh man, no, I didn't. Oh.
I can't remember what your ring entrance music was that day, though, Mike. Do you remember? I don't have to look that up.
I have no idea, dude.
I found the full fight on the full fight's on YouTube in case you're wondering.
Peep game. I was just a bully. I was looking with that other fucking ring.
Lennox, I'm looking right now at the beginning of the fight. You look very focused here.
Yeah.
You have a certain look like you were very, very ready. Mike, you get to the ring. Does it feel like anything in particular, or are you just thinking, let's see what happens tonight?
No, just go for it and see what we can do.
There's the human chain.
Let me tell you, Mike had every bad man in his corner. He had some of the guys that
they really stunk, right? But that's just what the world brings to you.
Yeah, so
that human chain is ridiculous. By the way, it's like 15 people across the ring.
Yeah,
and that's why. Excuse me, stuff like that. That's why these guys. It's just not the same now. these guys, they're more like to be best friends than they are to be foes and stuff. They don't sell it well. They don't sell the fact that they want to hurt each other. They want to really beat up each other.
Well, that's a big part of it, and that is something I think Mike has really missed by you, is that, the hype machine is what makes it special, injecting that little pro wrestling into boxing. You got to have some of that.
There's no entertainment in it. It's just all business.
Yeah.
Because the people controlling boxing now, they want it all.
That's probably my favorite thing about Floyd, is that Floyd has been able to make himself such a bad guy that people want to pay. I only really paid. Floyd fights were boring. I paid because I hoped to see him lose.
Listen, bad guys don't run.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But he did a great job making people dislike him enough to fork over the money to think, I don't want to miss the day Floyd Mayweather loses. They all wanted to celebrate if they got to see Floyd lose. And that made money.
The reality of it is, what really Floyd doing? Sometimes, like me, we get jealous, but when we look at the perspective, what he's doing is he's healthy, he's making money, and his family is okay. Guys like us come from the purest sense of the game. You got to sacrifice. Let's see what you made out of. Put yourself in that position, and that's why the two idiosyncrasies, they just don't mix at all. They just push each other away. Because one is the purest form of it. Sacrificing yourself for success, and the other one is avoiding the sacrifice of exposing yourself.
Mike, what did you think of Lennox stylistically going into this fight? What did you think was the way to beat him? You study boxing, so what did you think of Lennox's style going into it?
Just to be aggressive and just try to avoid the punches and counter after you make a miss. You have to stay on him. You couldn't keep. I try not to keep him because he's just
he's long.
He's long.
How do the punches feel?
I don't know. It's funny when you explain punches because when they land, it's boom, but you're still going. You're like, oh shit, but you don't say oh shit, but you're like, oh shit, you know what? And try to move.
You mean because it doesn't register, but then as you're moving, you realize that it stuck with you. You realize he connected.
You have a relationship with punches, and whoa, that would have been cool. And one of them might miss and say, whoa, don't get hit with that one. It's just the way fighting. Logistics go on in your mind.
So Lennox, do you remember the early rounds, Lennox? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. I remember the first round. I was upset at myself because I boxed it wrong. I wanted to show Miketyson that this is my ring, this is my house, and I wanted to control the ring. But it's like, I'm not the bull, he's the bull. And at that time, boy, it made sense that the bull should take the middle of the ring and me be the matador in that sense. And then I realized, I'm a 5-dimensional fighter, so I should definitely use my footwork, use my reach, and we didn't go against each other for a long time, so I didn't know what to expect from Miketyson.
Well, it was hard to know what
he was like. You see how he
expressed
it? He does it from very scientific perspective.
Yes.
Right?
Well, that's the British origins. He's a great orator.
Well, man, I tell you, I had the footwork that was moving from a generalship of, I say Jim Driscoll, the peerless one, of course.
Here's how it sounded. Here's how it sounded when you guys finally got together. Here's how it sounded.
God.
Beautiful backdrop, by the way. That Lewis Tyson is on sign was awesome.
Yeah.
We're underway. Lennoxlewis
oh no!
And Miketyson for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Mike, you came out with a couple of good jabs right out of the gate. He started pretty good.
Yeah, he started good.
He started good. Not only does he throw a few jabs, but then right away, though, you guys have an exchange where Mike gets a little bit wild, and you ended up getting with a few good shots.
Yeah, he got me with a couple good shots, too.
Did you think early on this could be a pretty big, this could be a long night?
No, I was ready for it. I mean,
it's Mike Tyson. I guess you're expecting a first-round rush, right?
Yeah, he moved his head really good, and, I was throwing his jab, trying to push him back, but there was one thing that really worked with him. Was the fact that his footwork, and I realized that when he came in, he put his feet square together. So if I would push him back on the shoulders, he would move back, and that really worked for me in the fight. But I didn't do that until the 3rd, 4th round.
That's very interesting, Mike. Did your footwork change over time? As you got older, did you feel a difference in how you moved in the ring? Or did it always seem the same? Because I know what he means. There was a time late in your career where you were straight on, and if people pushed you, you kind of backed up a little bit more than you would have when you were younger.
I don't see that like your guys see. I'm not objective like that.
Yeah, I guess you can't be, right?
You say, you know, when you look at what fights did I study to fight Mike Tyson, it was the Buster Douglas fight. I was watching Buster Douglas, and I was saying, well, these are the things that are working with Mike, so I'm gonna box just like Buster Douglas.
But that wasn't the reason, because that was just really shitty night.
But the Buster one.
Shit, yeah.
You realized in this fight that it wasn't going to happen?
No, I knew this wasn't going to go well at all.
How fast? You know how fast you realized it wasn't good?
Really fast.
Lennoxlewis?
Why? Yeah.
What was it about him that made you think, or was it you? Was it your energy?
Just had a really awful night, and I lost to the better guy at the night.
I mean, listen.